Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to the third lecture of microprocessor theory and interfacing. My name is Engineer Jafar Ali and I am your instructor for this course. Let's start with a recapitulation of previous topics. In the previous two lectures, we have studied about the basic fundamentals of microprocessor, and also we have introduced microprocessor to ourselves. We have also looked at an overview of different microprocessor and microcomputers. We've also seen about the evolution of microprocessors and also the main applications of microprocessor. There are so many of applications that we have discussed in class 2. Uh, Also, we have discussed about a bus architecture, that how you can connect different components of a microprocessor using a bus topology. That it is um, uh, assured that each component is connected to almost each component. That is basically the bus architecture that we discussed. After that, we looked at architecture of microprocessor. We also seen that there are three types of buses in microprocessor. One is address bus, one is data bus, and the last one was control bus. And after that, we started about the computer language. We studied that what is assembly language, and we will discuss that in coming slides as well as in coming lectures, because this is a very vast topic and one cannot conclude this topic in one or two lectures. So it will be going towards the final of the final week of the course. In the last of uh, lecture number 2, we have discussed about a very important topic of microprocessor, that is basically memory management, and how you can achieve a good memory efficiency or a good results from a given memory to operate a device. So keeping that in view, we will carry on our lecture in today's activity, and in this lecture, actually we are going directly towards the hardware, the uh, the hardware of a particular microprocessor, and that particular microprocessor will be 8085, and most of the topics will be from 8086. So consider it in mind that now we are going specifically towards for 8086. So now we will start our lecture from the history of 8086. We will also look at different features of 8086. We will also learn about the modes of operation that are used in 8086. In the end of the lecture, we will discuss about the architecture of 8086 specifically, and in the last we will basically compare 8086 and 8085 microprocessors, that how these two processors are differentiated. So starting with the 8086 specifically, so as we have learned that before in the previous lectures about 8085A, so now we will learn about 8086 actually. So it is basically 16-bit microprocessor chip, and it is designed by Intel. Here you will already know that Intel is a company that designed microprocessors specifically, and this was developed basically in 1976 and mid 1978. And the latest, basically the upgraded version of 86 was also released in 1979, and that was called as Intel 8088. This was the microprocessor which gave the rise. You have learned about different schemes in your computer in different programs. It is mentioned that it is multiplied by 86. In several window options, you can see multiply 86 or multiply 64. So this multiply by 86 represents the architecture, that is 8086 architecture, and this is the most successful processors of Intel. So that is why several programs of today's laptop and PC as well, they are made compatible to this 8086 architecture. Now let's study about the different features that 8086 involves, and that is the reason, that are the reason which makes this 8086 a very good processor, a universal processor. Many people call it a universal processor as well. So starting with its features, or you can say specifications, it is basically 16-bit microprocessor, and it has 20-bit address bus. You can see the difference between this 8085 and 8085A that we discussed in the previous class, and this 8086. In 8085A we have learned that there are 16-bit address bus, but in this case the address bit bus has 4 more bits in it, and it makes a combination of 2 power 20 location addresses. And you can see that it can access up to 220 memory locations, that is 1 MB. It can also support 64K input output ports. You can see that why it can support so much of ports because of its huge memory, and it provides 16-bit register instead of 8085. It has more bit registers in it, and it is basically multiplex. You can see that this is the same as 885A excuse me, but it is the bit upgraded version of 885A. Basically we have multiplexed the address bus and data bus as we did in previous 8085A, and it can prefetch up to 6 instructions byte from memory and queues them in order to speed up this instruction execution. Now what is this sentence mean? This is an important sentence and we need to focus on this sentence. Basically what is queue? A process takes a while to execute and if you are giving the command each and every time about different functions or different tasks to a computer, to a PC, so it cannot render all the tasks at a single time. So basically it works on a queue basis. And now what is queue? Queue is basically a data structure that works on first in first out, that whichever command will be executed first will be guided first, will be directed first, will be executed first. The first command will that will be coming to the processor will be executed or run by the processor for the very first, and after that the second command and the third command will be waiting for their turns, and after the first execution the second command will be executed, and then the third command will be executed by the processor because it was in a line. The command which will be coming first will be going out. So 8086A basically can prefetch 6 instructions byte from memory and queue them in order to speed up this instruction. You can see that it has basically it can execute 6 instructions byte from the memory. So it is a developed, or you can say our evolved version of 8085A. Now this is the very important topic, that how you will be able to operate 8086. These are known as modes of 8086. 8086 is designed to operate in 2 modes. Basically there are 2 modes and you will learn them inshallah in today's class and inshallah in the next class as well, that what is minimum mode and what is maximum mode and how it is operated. So we will discuss it in future. Coming towards the pin description, there are 40 pins involved in the processing, or you can say the operation of 8086, and the ranges goes from penta 0 to penta F. This H represents basically hexa. This is not address, this is basically representing the form of that data, and it is mentioned that this is hexa data. Data is from hexadecimal form, and it requires 5-volt power supply to operate. Mostly you see that mostly ICs that are used in nowadays different technologies, they are mostly operated at 5-volt power supply, and most of them are DC basically. The minimum mode is selected by applying. You can see that now how you can apply. It is very easy to apply, differentiate between minimum and maximum mode. The minimum mode is selected by applying the logic 1 to the MN or MX input pin. They are one pin basically. There is a pin, input pin, and this pin is termed as MN/MX pin. And if you want to go in the minimum mode, you apply basically 1, and if you want to go in the maximum mode, you basically apply 0 to that pin, and it is operated basically manually. You can shift the mode even automatically as well as manually. Now this is the basically combination that how the minimum mode operation is selected. You can see that there are 4 combinations. There are 2 segment register basically. Now what is done in minimum mode? When the minimum mode when you select the minimum mode, the 8085 controls and provide all the control signals that are needed to implement the memory and input output interface. It means that this is up to you that how you want to use your minimum mode. You can see that there are 4 options given to you because you are controlling 2 pins basically. One is S3 and one is S4, and you can toggle 2 pins at a time. So it means that you can create 4 combinations of that. And what the 4 combinations meant, or what are the meaning of the 4 combinations. 0 stands for extra. I will tell you one by one. 01 stands for stack, 10 stands for code/none, and 11 stands for data. Now it means that if you send 11, it will fetch for the data. If you send 10 to the minimum mode, it will fetch for the code, or it will fetch for none. If you send basically 01, it will search for a memory stack, and if you want to do some another task, you will put the pins at 00. Both you should consider both the pins as 0, and for that reason you can put any extra task that you want to perform using in minimum mode. So when the 86 is set for the maximum mode configuration, it provides signal for implementing a microprocessor or coprocessor system environment. Means that if you want to build an environment, you will go for maximum mode. And by this means that each processor involved in this maximum mode will be executing its own program. It will not be executing the same program. It means that if you are using 8086 mode, and it means that you have connected some other device which has another microprocessor in it, so that microprocessor will not be executing the same commands that will executed by this first one, the first microprocessor that you use. So both these will be executing their own commands, and it will not execute the same command. And as I've told you that this type of operation is mostly used when you want to build some system environment. And why do we want to use this model? Because in mostly cases you want to you want to share the resources. It means that, let's say I am recording the lecture over here, and I am using the wall that is pretty fine wall, and if someone some other teacher wants to record the data as well, so we will place another that chair over here, and he will be able to record his lecture by using his own microphone, and he will execute the another function over here. We will not do the same function, we will execute other different function, but we will share the common resources, that is the table, the wall, etc. But the execution and the functions will be totally different. So this is the meaning of the third point. Now coming towards this very important piece, this is basically the pin diagram of 8086. Now you can see that there are 40 pins of this microprocessor. Excuse me. Starts from the very ground pin, and it goes towards the 40th pin, that is the power high, or you can say the supply for this device. This processor is activated using these 2 pins. One is the 40th pin, and another one is the first pin, that is ground. You have to connect the positive voltage over here, and that will be +5, because 8086 we already learned that this is operated at 5 volts. Now you can see that there are many other pins that is basically processing their own functions, and they are performing their own duties in this microprocessor, and we will discuss all of them one by one. Now what are interrupts? There you can see that there are address buses, address data buses. These are basically multiplexed with one another. You can see that there are can see that there are basically interrupt, and there is clock, there is ground, another ground, and you can see that there are different other working of operation. And this is basically the MN or MX, that is maximum or minimum. You can change the mode of the processor using these using this pin. Either it can be 0 or it can be 1. And you can see that there is another thing, that is basically read, hold, etc., hold and read, etc. And you can also reset the pin. You can also apply some test inputs over here. You can also make it ready for some task. So this is several functions, and we will look at the important ones one by one. Now, what are interrupts? Interrupts basically is a pin that is involved if you are using microprocessor for a very complicated task. It means that if you are performing a very lengthy execution or a very lengthy program, and in the middle of program you remembered, you recall that you didn't enter some value in the program, so you do not want to wait for the whole program to be executed first, because you know that the answer will be wrong, and you want something that makes your program stop, so that you can edit it, and after that you will be able to run it, because you know that the answer which will be coming now will be wrong. So for that reason you need someone to interrupt your process, interrupt your instructions, and for that reason you need interrupts. The process basically has following interrupts. The first one is basically INTR, and it is a maskable hardware interrupt. It means that you have to put some hardware pin, or you can say hardware connection, if you want to use that, use this interrupt, because it is hardware. And how does it work? It is basically worked as the flag registers. If you want to execute this interrupt, so you can use SL, STI or CLI, and this instructions can be also executed by using different types of flags, but this is a bit difficult if you operate at flags, because you have to remember all the combination of flags. There are several different flags that are involved in this microprocessor. So the mostly people do is they use STI or CLI instructions to enable this interrupt. The other one is non-maskable map, NMI, and this is mostly somewhere some same way as the INTR, but it has a higher priority as compared to the maskable input. This is non-maskable maskable input. It means that if you are using a process and you have interrupted a file because you want to stop, but when you are using that instruction, some other person or some other body remembered that they have a more important task to execute, so they will stop the task for their purpose. It means if you are using a shared medium, as I've told you that mostly it is done on shared medium, you share the different resources. If you execute a project and some other user that is also using the same resource, and he wants to stop as well as you want to stop the process, so if he wants to stop, so this will not be somewhere this will not be the case that you like, because you are using the same resources, so you won't like that he is controlling the scenario. So it is basically, it will give you an edge that you will be able to interrupt, and your interrupt will be carry high priority as compared to their interrupt. It means that if he has applied an interrupt, if he has called for interrupt, so if you apply NMI, you will be able to, your interrupt call will be given priority over that INTR. So this is basically the difference between priorities, that how you can differentiate your someone else interrupt. Mostly software interrupts can also used, and by this I means that you will be able to apply different methods or different instruction set. And the first one is basically INT, that is basically a breakpoint interrupt, and this is basically type 3 interrupt. And what is type 3 interrupt, we will discuss that in class because it's a huge topic. I don't want to start that discussion now. This will be discussed in class, inshallah. The other one is basically INT instruction. The last one is basically INTO, that is interrupt or overflow. We will discuss that in brief inshallah in the class. Now coming towards the most understandable or most important topic to understand the working of basically 8086. It is their physical architecture or the internal of their physical architecture. So you can see that there are different components that are involved in this architecture. The first one is execution unit, and all these are basically the general registers are combination of all the data banks, and the interface is linked as execution unit. There are basically two units of 8086. The first one is known as bus interface unit, and the second one is known as execution unit. The bus unit basically is the combination of different resources and memories that includes different registers, external buses, and bus logic, bus control logic, and different other instructions queues as well. Similarly, in execution unit, you will find different general registers, that is AX, BX, CX, and many more. As well as it also contains internal bus, temporary register, ALU, different flags, and their interfaces as well. So this is the combination. This combination is on the execution unit, and this combination is on the bus interface unit, and these both are divided in two sections. As I've told you that 8086 has two basic blocks. The first one is bus interface unit. You call it as BIU, and the second one is known as EU, that is execution unit. Now, what is the major difference in functionalities of both these blocks or units? The BIU handles all the transactions of data and addresses on the buses for the EU side, and the major reason for the separation is to increase the processing speed for the processor. You see that we have divided the processor just to make it more easy, because if we haven't divided this, there would be a chance of different complexity over here. So we have tried, basically the designers have tried to nullify the effect or nullify the major portion of the complexity by dividing the complete project into two. The first one is BIU and the second one is EU, and mostly EU execute instructions from the instructions byte system byte. You can see that this is the unit where the major portion of this unit is involved in the actions and executions. You can take the data from the store, that is the general registers. You can put it in temporary registers. You can make some operations over it. So this side of the processor is working operations at this side of the 8086 works as to control purposes, to interface purposes, to store purposes, some things, some data. But this side of the architecture of 8086, this is involved in the operation of 8086. Now you see that there are different components of BIU and EU. The BIU contains instructions queue. I have told you what is instruction queue. The first instruction that you will give to the processor will be placed at the first of the queue. The second instruction will be placed towards the second number. The third instructions will be placed at the third number, and so on. And in the last instruction will be added. Also, you can say that there are different segment registers which is involved in the storing of some data. You have instruction pointer, address adder, and in the EU side there is basically control functionality circuits. There are instruction decoder, ALU, pointer, because this is the execution unit, and you see that mostly it is involved in the execution and the operation that is practically implemented. Now coming towards the EU basically decodes the instruction, and that instruction is basically fetched from the BIU. So basically BIU gives the data to EU, and EU decodes that instructions. Understand this thing. The EU takes the data or fetch the data from the BIU and then decodes it, and after decoding it, it generates some control signals, and after generating that control signal, it executes that instruction that is also provided by BIU. We have seen that the instruction queue is basically over here. This is provided by the ALU, but the data is coming from this side. So this side, the data will be coming from this side, and the instruction will be coming from this side, and this body on the EU side will be executing the task. Now what is ALU? We have discussed this ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit. This is involved in different arithmetic or logic functions that you want to implement using a microprocessor. You can add like gates, you can do any mathematical function, square root or anything. This is done by the ALU of the EU side, that is execution unit. Different functions and combinations, you can see that they are general purpose registers that are used for different purposes. For example, the first pin on the side was AX, that is basically now accumulator, and the first 8 bits are on the higher side and the last 8 bits are on the lower side. This AH and AL means higher and lower. Similarly, other term is BX, and the first 8 bits are on the high side and the last 8 bits are on the low side. Similarly, C, D and up to so on. They are stack pointer, base pointer, source index, destination index. What are these things? We will discuss that in the coming time, but for now just look at this as a random overlook. This is the sum combination. I have told you that why this AX register are used. The purpose of AX register is basically you multiply the word or divide the word or use the word input output. So this is achieved by using the register AX. If you want to multiply some byte to byte multiplication or divide it or some decimal arithmetic operations, you can use AL. Similarly, this is the whole process operations of this. These registers are given over here. Now coming towards the pointer and index registers, that what are pointers and what are index registers? Basically these are used in various form of memory addressing. Now what is addressing? Addressing is basically when you have some data in somewhere and you call the data by their address. Now this is known as addressing. So it is used, the pointer are basically used to address someone. It means that if you know the location, you point the direction. You can say go in that direction. You can say go in that direction. So basically you are pointing towards the address. So this is known as addressing, or you can say pointer. This is known as pointer, and the what the pointer do, it basically addresses someone. So basically this is used in various forms. I told you that it is pointers are basically used in various memory addressing. In the case of a stack pointer and base pointer, there are two operations that we have discussed earlier in the EU side, that is SP. SP stands for stack pointer, and it is used with basically stack segment to access some stack segment. Basically stack is also a kind of data set, data structure. We have learned about queue, that queue is a line which will come first, will go out first. Stack is not like that. Stack is totally opposite. Consider a bar or a jar. The first thing that go in will be going last, and the last thing that will be coming in will be coming at the top. That is the first one. So that is basically stack. This is known as stack data structure, and this pointer is basically known as that thing that points the address was given stack, that go for this segment of the stack, go for the last segment of the stack. So this segment, the points, this pointer is known as basically stack pointer, which points to the segment stack segment, that which segment contains the data that you need. The second one is base pointer. Let's say your data is at the last, at the very base. So this is used primarily used to access the data on the data on the stack, and it can be used to access the data that are some other segments. So it means that you can also access data using this base pointer towards other segments as well. Now what is SI and DI? SI is basically source index register and DI is destination index register. Source index register is required for some string operations. A string is now another form of data representation. When string operations are performed, the SI register points to the memory locations in the data segment which is addressed by the DS register, that is data segment. We will discuss this in class. Now coming towards another very interesting topic of registers that are also a part of EU, basically execution unit. And now what is flag? A flag is basically a flip-flop which indicates some general conditions or some outputs that are involved, that are achieved after some operation. It means that if you have multiplied two different numbers and there comes a carry, so how do we will know that there is a carry? So there is a flag which is basically operates as a flip-flop. If the value of that flip-flop, that specific buffer, goes 1, it means that we have received a carry. If it doesn't, if it is not 1, it will mean that there is no carry. So there are different flags that are used in EU, and they are mentioned over here. There is a carry flag, there is a parity flag, there is overflow register. It means that if the overflow is 1, it means that the data, the memory of the level of the memory is full, and it is not the other data is not stored in the memory because the earlier memory is full, and we have to delete some earlier things to make the memory, and after that we will be able to adjust the coming data inside the network, inside the data bank. This topic is very, the diagram this is basically different flags that are used in EU side. You can see that their purpose over here. It is, I have compiled this in a one diagram, so you can see it will be easy for you. For example, what is carry flag? It holds the carry information. What is PF? That is parity flag, and this is basically 0 or 1. 0 means odd and 1 means even. Auxiliary flag holds the carry, basically it also holds the carry, but after addition or more or subtraction. You can see that this is mostly used in BCD, addition or subtraction, etc. And there are several other interrupt flag. You can see that we discussed that you can also control interrupt using a flag. So this is the example of that thing. So this concludes the EU side. There is another thing, that is queue, that we have discussed. That what is queue? Basically the first one that will be going last, first. This is basically the queue. This is the instruction set mechanism. You can see that it is mentioned that this is acts as a pipeline. Now what is a segment register? Basically I have told you that a segment, basically register can be divided into different segments. So this is the thing, that this is your physical memory, and it is divided into different extra segments, and stack segment and data segment and code segment. Means that you can store your code here, you can store your data here. If you have some extra pieces of data, let's say you have some image file, you can store that over here. And using the stack segment, we have discussed that what is stack segment. Basically you have divided segment memory, and we can also put some data over here. The specifications are given over here, that 64 KB, 64 KB, all of these are 64 KB, and it goes from 00 to FFFF, Penta 0 to Penta F, and it makes total the memory of 1 MB. Now what is segmented memory? Segmented memory is basically of 64-bit, and it is located inside the memory. It can be stored anywhere in the memory, and it has some specific function basically. And code segment is basically used for storing the instructions. The stack segment is basically used for it is used to store some return addresses. The data and extra segments are used for storing the actual data actually, and all these basically are 16-bit registers. So this concludes today's lecture. If you have any question, you can ask me in the class, and I hope that you will be able to perform good in the quiz, inshallah, that we will be taking in the class. So best of luck for your class. Hope to see you in the class. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.